This is a story of a community of people. During this story, it is interactive. You'll have to use your imagination on certain things. Now, as for me, this community, the more people, the better. And among this community, these were this whole big community. They were a fine example of cohesion and harmony, with things like confrontation and ridicule, just to name, oh gosh, very, very few. Very little name. These words hadn't even entered the lexicon yet. They didn't exist. You must stress that this was a very, very good community of people that just worked together in day-to-day lives. Well, with every community, there's usually someone in that community who is a little more influential than the rest. Well, this community was no different. And this influential one, he lived his life like everybody else, day to day. Well, he had been pondering an idea of his, a new way of life a new way of living to be added to the way they've all lived anyway. You got to use your imagination now. Whatever that is, whatever this new way is, you think of it yourself. It's not going to change anything. Well, he decided to adopt this new way for himself, just to see, He'd been thinking about it for a while. Well, it worked for him, very, very much so. I mean, it seemed very abundant, just all around good. And him being a very good community of cohesion and harmony, he wanted to at least share this idea with the rest of the community, and said, "Hey, it's worked for me. May as well give it a try if you wish. I just thought I'd share it with you and not keep it a secret." Well, as he's telling this idea to the community, it was obvious. You could see. I mean, they were looking up at him and then looking at each other and smiling, and you could hear, "Wow, he's got a good point there. You could hear." And then next thing you know, they're cheering. Thus, a new way added to the way they've been living is born. Now, I must point out that if there's ever, given the fact that a stranger was able to view this community before the new way and after the new way, they wouldn't see anything that had changed. There was no visible sign that anything changed. It was still a community that, a fine example of cohesion and harmony. Thus, they've added a new way. And it was good. They loved it. It was great. Well, as time goes by, the buzz and the electricity of the new way kind of settles down, and it's still great. They've adapted this new way, and it's working for them. Well, as time goes by, a handful of community members had conversation from time to time, and they discussed that they have noticed, well, I've seen so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. They appear to have not adapted or adopted this new way of life. And they're like, "Yeah, you're right. You're right, they haven't." Well, one of them suggested, come morning, we ought to get together and go talk to these uninfluenced ones, is what they appear to be uninfluenced. Well, next morning came. They did. They go and, "Hey, how you doing?" "I'm good. How are you?" "So what do you think of the new way? Isn't it great? It's working great." And these were truthful people. They didn't see no harm or confrontation. That wasn't even a word that existed. And to answer that question was very honest. Well, yeah, I mean, we've noticed a lot of people, they're very happy with this new way, and it's obviously working. But we haven't used it because we just feel completely comfortable with just keeping it the way we've lived all this time. But it's no harm on either way. I mean, we've noticed that the biggest part of the community who has adopted this new way doesn't affect us at all, and us continuing to do it the way we want to do it, or the way we've always done it, doesn't affect anyone either. So, yeah, that's our idea. We're good. We're real happy who chooses to use it. We're happy of the influential one who shared it and didn't keep it a secret. So, what are you guys up to today? And they were just staring the influenced ones who were seeking answers. They were. What do you mean? What do you mean you just choose not to use the new way? They weren't happy at all. They took on a confrontational stance, and the uninfluenced ones were a little confused. Well, they said to the uninfluenced ones, they said, look, we're going to go and spread the word to everyone that you guys just aren't doing the new way like the rest of us. I mean, the biggest percentage of this whole community has adopted this new way, and you haven't, and you just choose not to. We don't like it. They didn't like it. So a new word is born with a new definition. Use your imagination. Well, the uninfluenced ones were really confused. It's like, well, what? You know. Well, next day, they've spread the word that there's a handful of people in the community who really hasn't adopted this new way, and there was more people. What, really? What? We will band together with you and we'll make them adopt to this new way. We can't. No, there's no. We all do it, and they don't. No, we're not having it. And it's time. It didn't take long for somebody within the community of influenced ones to say, wait just a minute. These people who have chose not to live like this, it hasn't changed a thing. It hasn't hurt us. And of course, the ones who were against somebody not doing it that way, well, how dare you speak up like that? And then arguments start. Okay? And this big community that was once a fine example of cohesion and harmony starts branching off as smaller communities over these little small variances of opinion, and this harmonious and example of cohesion is no longer one happy community. They branched off into a bunch of other little communities over their differences. And little by little, they're arguing, and they've come up with justification to intimidate and harm other communities in order to try and force their beliefs, their opinions to be the same. And one day, one member of any of one of the communities, whichever one you want to choose, he was in the garden with his garden hoe. He was the implement they called, which was used to control weeds. And he stopped him. And he took off running to the other members of his community and said, I have an idea. And he had this hoe. And they're like, what's your idea? And he said, this implement we use in the garden to control weeds, it can be used for more than that. And they're, oh? And he walked over to one of their pigs, which they killed now and again for food. And he said, take a look at our pig, and think to yourselves that this is a member of another community. And they're like, all right. And he hits that pig with that garden implement as hard as he can, right in the head. And that pig, he killed it. And he went, and he said, see, we can use this as defense and assault methods. And they're like, oh, wow. The use of a weapon is born to be used against other members of a that was once a whole community of one. Well, once the word got out, which it didn't take long, once this garden implement that was used just to control weeds only, no other thoughts of it, once it was used as a method of harm and intimidation and had the potential to kill, once it was used, it didn't take long for the word to spread. And all the communities had adapted that idea. You know, we too will use our implements of slicing our food and breaking our ground for more than its intended use. We too will do that. And what was once a whole community of harmony and an example of cohesion that branched off into other little communities and no longer agreed on anything, all of a sudden agreed on one thing: the use of a weapon against each other when they were once in the same community. You can use your imagination from here just to see where it snowballed from there. Later, an idea came up with one of the community says, "Hey, we don't have to use these garden implements." And they're like, "Hey, wait, hey." He's like, "No, hear me out. Hear me out on this. These have been very effective, but I have an idea. We can make our own implements just for the sole purpose of harming another person." You know, oh, so we can just leave the implements right there in the garden. That's right. And next thing you know, buildings are structures are formed, and inside those buildings are machines that help make these implements that they were talking about faster and more efficient and many more faster, and just for the sole purpose, no more multi-purposes. It was made for the one and only purpose: to harm another human being that was once a member of the same community. Does anyone have any opinions on what is the moral of this story? And did anyone wonder, as I told this story, I dreamed this up a couple days ago. Did anyone wonder for a second, what happened to the influential one? What became of him who just suggested something that was working for him? Thank you.